So welcome aboard to the Summer Sketch Giveaway. This is an event that I am doing to help you artists grow in your drawing ability and your painting ability as well. So this is all about sketching and drawing and tools to help you become a better artist. And so I'm an artist, and some of you may already know me, but if you don't, I'm an oil painter artist, and I'm also the creator of masterfulpainting.com, where my online courses live, and I have a cloud course going right now there. I've noticed over the years as I teach workshops that many of my students sometimes skip this step, because we all have done this, including me, and probably every artist out there has started this grandiose old painting that you were really excited about, but for some reason it just didn't work right, or the composition was off, and so probably not enough homework done in the beginning. So homework before you approach that piece is good. So we see the photo on the left there. That is what I'm going to do. Today I'm going to do dark clouds. My last sketch I did the white puffy cumulus clouds. So today I'm just going to do a sketch of a sunset and give you an idea of how we go about that, or how I go about it. Now you can see I've already got a little bit of a pencil line drawing on there, and I've done that just for the sake of time. I'm going to get going. So what I've done is I've just done a pencil sketch here of that photo that I showed you, and with my paintings I start my drawings out pretty much the same sort of thought process as my paintings, and what that is I jump in and I like to anchor my foreground so that I get some darks. And I'm gonna my water here. All right, so this is the markers, and the set that I'm giving you are markers like this. They are the Prismacolor, and they are the brush tip. So if you want to order some, you want to make sure that you're getting the brush tip here. It's just a little bit nicer to work with. And I'm going to use the 80%, and I'm just going to come in here. Now I did change a little bit of this scene, not exactly like my photo. There is a saguaro in it, and I'm going to try to suggest it here without getting him too fat. Try and keep my hand out of your way. Actually, I think I'll do a couple saguaros. That guy got a little fat, but I'm a little awkward with the camera right here in front of me. It's invading on my space. But, so I'm just suggesting some small trees, and I'm just really using my 80% right now just to kind of get things in there. And I'm going to go ahead and give myself this horizon line. Now in the photo, it's pretty dark. Pretty dark foreground is what I was attempting to say. It's a pretty dark foreground, and there's not much that I can see in the photo. It's a little hard, but when you're working on your own photos, you know what was there. I'm just going to give myself a touch of a pathway into this scene and just get some darks down in here to anchor things. Now, depending on how much detail you want to put in your drawings, it's going to be a personal preference. Just how that is. I'm going to jump into the 40% now and block in the distant mountains. There's a range of distant mountains in this scene. The distant mountain, it's light, but it does have a little bit of value, darkness to it. And then I'm going to start my cloud with the same value, and it is got some sun rays in it. There are those little sunlight rays. Now in a value sketch, you may not be able to get quite all that detail there, but I'm going to suggest it, and I do this for myself, so I know that I'm going to want it in my painting. And so I'm going to just come up here and give myself the thought process of those beautiful rays. Try to keep them at the right angle. You know, some of it's going to get covered up. Just giving myself this process here. Now I'm going to block in all the dark of this cloud, and this is the 40%. As I'm doing this blocking in, I'm going to talk to you about this. You may do several sketches when you start a painting. You might do, 3 or 4. You might change the composition. One thing is with photographs, unless you are doing historical work or you're doing a commission, you are the owner of it. It's your decision of what you want to do. And I encourage you to explore off of that. Let the photograph be your starting point and then work from there. I mean, you're not married to the photo. Now, one thing with these markers is they do lighten a little bit as you paint, all right? So there will be a little bit lighter finished. Sometimes you'll have to go back over with them if you want it a little bit darker. And there are just little strata clouds here that are building this for interest along this area. Now we only have 4 values plus black and the white of the paper that we're really, working with. So that will be a decision of simplification. And you probably don't want to break up your values a whole lot more than that anyway. The little strata clouds running down here in the distance. Again, as I said last demo, it's a personal preference how much work you want to put into your drawing. When I'm out on site, many times I don't even use the pencil. I'll go straight to the markers. When I am in the studio, I slow down a little bit because I enjoy the process. I enjoy working on them, and so I will slow down and take my time. Maybe I'll add a little more detail. So 80% in the ground, all this is the 40% marker. And then I might have to hit that again. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get rid of the white of the sky. Actually, see, and with demos, you know how that is. I'm gonna push this one more time, just a hair darker. I think I could be just a tad bit darker with this side. This side of the cloud is a little bit lighter because of the sun influence. Over here, there's not as much getting through. Those rays are working their way up through there, but sorry, I'm talking and trying to do this too. They are not quite as dark on that side. All right, I'm going to jump up. I'm going to grab my 60, and I'm going to take on the rest of this cloud over here. See, go a little bit darker over here. So I am just coming in here, and then I'm going to go back to my 40 and work just a little bit more. And yes, maybe you lose a little bit of the feeling of the sun rays, but that's to be expected with markers. This is a roadmap. This is how I think about these little drawings. They're a roadmap to where you're going to take your painting. Like, are you going to like what you've picked out? What are the things that you are drawn to in that picture? Why not just be a little bit more exaggerated with those so that we don't lose the idea that there are sun rays? Because then when I paint it, it's telling me to pay attention to that area. Now I'm going to jump up and I'm just going to cover the sky area. I don't want it white. It's not white. The lightest area is right around here where the sun is. I didn't mention on these markers there's a brush tip and then there's a fine tip too. So if you do want a finer tip, then you do have that. Now blue sky, 20%. Let's just get in here. And you can keep it a little lighter where our sun is. If I wanted to, I could just let some of that white paper remain. Just getting all of that covered. And I do think I would actually, to start, I'm just going to get rid of the white of the ground too. It's going to be a personal preference of how dark you get the ground. I'm going to want that ground a little bit darker, so I think I'll just take the 40% and knock it back just a little bit more here. Maybe I'll let a little bit of light stay in my pathway. Now, if you're wanting to go darker, like I said, sometimes I do. One thing I take caution is I sneak up on my seam. So maybe I want this darker than the 40%, but I won't use 60. This was the 60, and it would have been maybe too dark. So I'll sneak up on it and actually go back over it again to give it just another hit to make it just a little darker. And when you're doing it, you'll have time to pay more attention to shapes and things. I think that some of these over here could be, we kind of have a duplicate, so let's just get rid of that bottom one and let that one sky hole just be there. And then I do notice in my photo that there's a little bit darker to these through here, and it's probably an illusion because the sun is so bright that these right here are appearing darker. So I'm going to push just a tad bit darker right there and let these and these over here be a little bit lighter. As they are in the photo, that is probably how I would follow it if I was painting it. I'd be following the same thing. And then I do think that I'm going to take the 60%, and I think I'm going to go ahead and maybe darken my foreground one more shot here. And just get a little bit more meat to the ground, a little bit more of an anchor here. And it really does help settle and plant things here. Let's get that a little bit narrower back there for perspective purposes. All right, and in looking at my photo, you know, maybe I want to design just a little bit more up here. There are a few broken clouds coming off of some of this. If I want the interest, when I'm doing clouds, I'll just really pay attention to how much do I want to do. It's nice to have big resting places for your eye. But then it's all right to have the little bit of detail. There's a small line under here of some clouds. I would probably play it up because right there is where my sun spot is, and I would really work that area up. And again, you know, that is your choice. Now, are these sun rays a little exaggerated? Yeah, they are, but it's also for me to pay attention when I go to paint that they are there. Maybe they're a little bit more noticeable. So maybe we'll just darken that just a little bit to get those to blend in just a hair more. And I still am feeling the need of a little bit darker. And actually, I'm going to go ahead and be bold and jump up here with the 60 and take this right through here just a little bit darker. That was the 40 that I was applying again, but it wasn't giving me what I want. Now this will lighten up just a little bit, but I just want it a little darker right around in this area. Darker along the base. I'm not following my photograph to the T. All right, for you to see, let me slip it back in here again and see if I can get it where it's showing. And I know one thing I do know with the screen is that it looks a lot darker. My drawing is a tidbit darker than what the actual life is. It looks a little bit darker on my monitor anyway. So you can see there's a lot going on here. So in this drawing, I don't have to do all of that in this sketch. But when I go to paint it as a finished painting, I pick and choose, what do I want to put in here? And then keeping all of this very bright right through here, by making these areas darker, that's where I was saying I wanted a little darker, and all of this, it will help pop the sunspot, which more than likely is going to be, could be the focal point, unless you had a lot going on down here. You can see that I've added more saguaros than what is here, and I have a very black, non-existent foreground in this photo, because in order to see this, I had to just really push that dark. But I do like to kind of just design all of that on my own. So now what I use these small Micron pins. You can buy these in different sizes. I think I have a 1, a 3, and a 5. I'm using the 5 today just so you can see it. And again, it depends on the type or how much detail you want. But I'll come in and maybe do a little work, a fine line, possibly. Now, it may not show up over here because I've got it fairly dark, but you know, you could just do some small detail where you want. I got a little fat on this cactus, gang, so just know that that cactus, he's a little fat. And with pins, with these markers, there ain't no going back. What grows, grows. I wonder if I can just make him a little bit narrower towards the top, and I'll be happier with him. We'll see. Saguaros are a challenge, and I think, you know, you could just play with these pins. I just like to add a little bit for fun, is really what I do with it. Maybe I would just say there's saguaros off in the distance. This is the desert. That's where I live. I'm in Mesa. And not that this is a rule, but I like to think about my exits. I exit here and I exit here. I want to just, and I'm going to finish this up here. So we're going to just really quickly just finish this. And if anybody has any questions, I'll look at the questions. I need this to go a little bit darker. But the exits here and here. So they're identically the same. I'm going to throw a little grouping of trees out here so that my exit there is a little changed from here instead of there just being nothing going off. Then I'm going to grab the black. I don't use black a lot, but I am going to just use the black right down here in the very foreground to maybe make just a little bit darker to these very foreground bushes. Just a little bit. So, yeah, that's pretty much a wrap. So, you know, that gives me an idea about where I want to go on that scene. I'm going to pull this out just a little bit so we can, that's not out. Let me pull this out just a little bit. It's easier to show you the photo. So that gives me a little bit of a idea of, okay, you know, I think I like this. Again, I think my saguaros are maybe a little bit big in this, but they could be up closer. I think if I did the painting, maybe I would probably make them a little smaller. And this guy, he just is a tub. He's a little fat, but that's just the way it is. But you can see here that now I have a little bit of an idea about my value structure. Although this is way darker, like I said, you can see I have a little bit more of an idea. And it just helps me to develop what I'm going to do with the painting, where I'm going. And so let me zoom out just a little bit more here. You can see some of these. These are sketches that I've done before I do a painting, all right? So this is what I want to encourage you to do. You have a painting, a photograph you want to do. So get out the sketch pad and decide your format first. Get the right format of your image to match your surface, and then do some drawings. And you can see these are some Grand Canyons. This one was done on site. This one is here in the studio, but I do those. And then the next thing that I do is sometimes I'll even do a little color swatch. This is just this was my drawing here. This was the color swatch. It's a piece of canvas. And then I took it up even bigger. I think I went to a 9 by 12 before I took it up to an 18 by 20, a 24 by 18, or bigger or less, whichever. And then you can see here these skies that I was doing right here. This was the same picture, but the clouds didn't vary too much, but my foreground varied a little. And I was just playing with some different things. But my clouds pretty much stayed the same, but my foregrounds were different. So I was just doing a number of things. It helps you get into the mode of where you're going with your scene and what's going to work, what you do like. I will be honest, there's been times that I have done these and I found out I wasn't that crazy over the scene after all. So really quick, I want to do an 11 by 14 painting. So my top number is 11. I'm doing my small bottom wheel to 14. So if I want to do 11 by 14 painting, then my sketch down here, here's a perfect size, a 4 by 5. That would be my sketch. So I would do a small little pencil sketch at 4 by 5, or I could do it even smaller. I could do a 3 by 3 7/8. I mean, this gets down to the nitty gritty here. And, but I'd probably do 4 by 5, then I can paint it by 11, 14, and if I just love it and I want to paint it big, then I'll just go up the wheel, and that would be a 30 by 38, would be the exact same proportions. Now your photo has to be the same proportions. Just remember that. So my photo, here, I had to measure this, and I actually measured it through Photoshop and took those proportions, and they were in Photoshop much higher. They were like the 3300s or whatever. And so the 33, you know, by whatever it was, 18. And then I just started going down the wheel. And so your photo has to be the exact same proportions. I'm actually preparing to do some Zoom classes with everybody that's in my cloud course. I do have a cloud course online. If anybody, masterfulpainting.com, where I do have an online course there. It's 7-hour video of painting cumulus cloud scene in oils. But for all those students that are in that, I'm getting geared up just to go ahead and start doing some Zoom classes with them. It's sort of a touch base with my students and see how they're doing, if any have questions. What size thumbnail sketches do you usually do? I like that you seem to do larger. Yeah, I mean, out on site, I'll do a lot smaller because the time essence. Obviously, if you're a plein air painter, you get that. There is not as much time. In the studio, I'll do 4 by 5s and things. I did bring this one up. I wanted to do these fairly big so that you see them on screen, because it is a different element when you're watching here on the. We are ready. I will check back over. I will monitor all of the comments. If you do have questions, go ahead and drop them in the comment box. Even after this ends up, come back to it. I want you to get disciplined. I want you to start doing this before you start paintings. Think about the process, because it is a roadmap to a better painting. All right, everybody. Thank you guys for joining me. I really appreciate it. It makes it so much more fun to have everybody on board. And so I'm just going to sign off here, and I'll see you guys. Thank you, everybody, for the hearts and thumbs ups. I appreciate it. Okay, get back to the drawing board. Bye.